used to volunteer at an old psychiatric hospital that had been shut down since the early 80s. The city had plans to turn it into a museum. Can you believe that? A museum. So they needed help cataloging what was left inside. Patient files, old equipment, and anything historically valuable. I didn't believe in ghosts or anything like that. I thought all the haunted asylum stories were just urban legends. But I was wrong. I'll never forget what happened on my third night there. It started off quiet. I was alone on the West Wing, an area called Block D. The rest of the volunteers were in the admin offices. My job was to take photos of the old patient rooms. The air was thick, like it hadn't been breathed in decades. The moment I stepped into room 308, I felt watched. There were deep scratch marks on the floor, not random ones, long, straight ones, like someone had been dragged across the tiles and the walls. Someone had written, "I'm still here," over and over, scratched into the paint with what looked like fingernails. I laughed nervously, told myself it was some vandal from years ago. I took a photo. My camera glitched. The screen turned to static for 3 full seconds, then it snapped back. And for a brief moment, I saw something behind me in the lens. A person, pale, in a hospital gown. No eyes, just black pits. I turned around, no one there. The room was empty, but the smell, like rot and rust and something wet. I tried to call out to the others, but there was no cell signal, so I kept moving, trying to shake it off. I walked into another hallway darker than the rest. My flashlight flickered. That's when I heard the whisper, a dry, cracking voice behind me. "You shouldn't be here." I turned fast. No one. But I swear, I felt breath on my neck, cold, damp, real. Then doors started slamming, first the ones behind me, then ahead, one by one. Bang, bang, bang. I ran, half blind in the dark, turning corners that didn't make sense, like the building had changed its layout. That's when I saw it. At the end of the hallway, a wheelchair rolling toward me on its own. I froze. Then from the side room, something crawled out. A woman, barefoot, in a torn gown. Eyes wide open, jaw hanging. Her head twitched, like it wasn't attached properly. She didn't speak. She just screamed, loud like a siren. And she ran at me on all fours. I bolted. I don't remember how I got back to the lobby. The front door wouldn't open. I pounded on it, screamed for help. I turned, and there she was again, closer this time, whispering, "Stay, stay, stay with us." I passed out. They found me the next morning, unconscious near the reception desk, camera still recording. They say I was alone in the footage, but I've seen the video, frame by frame. At 3:17 a.m., there's a shadow behind me, then 2, then 5, just standing there, watching, not moving. I quit the next day, never went back, but sometime, in the dark, I still hear it, that whisper, "Stay with us." I've never talked about this before, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't think anyone would believe me. I used to work night shifts as a security contractor. Nothing intense, just quiet gigs, mostly abandoned buildings, construction sites, that kind of thing. One job changed everything. It was an old mental asylum, shut down in the 90s after a string of unexplained patient deaths. They were planning to demolish it, but until then, they needed someone to make sure no one broke in. The building was deep in the woods, down a long gravel road with no signs and no lights. Even pulling up to it felt wrong. The windows were black, some of them shattered, and the air smelled like mold and rust. My job was simple: sit in the front office, do hourly rounds, report any movement on the cameras. Easy. The first night, nothing happened. Just creaking walls and the sound of rats in the ceiling. Second night, I started hearing it. Screaming, not far off, echoing, or the wind playing tricks. It was clear, human, and close. Like someone screaming into a pillow, just loud enough to freeze your blood. Every time I went to check, nothing. No one in the hallway, no movement on the monitors. Third night, the monitors went black. All of them, then flicked back on, But they weren't showing the empty hallways anymore. They were showing the rooms, with people inside them. Some curled in corners, rocking. Some standing perfectly still, staring into the camera. One just stood in the middle of the room, eyes wide, mouth open, like he was mid-scream, but no sound came through. I thought it was some kind of old footage glitch. Maybe someone messed with the system. But when I went to check those rooms, they were all empty. Fourth night, I didn't want to go back. I almost quit. But something pulled me in, like the building wanted me there. I brought a camera that night just to prove I wasn't going crazy. On my midnight round, I passed the old patient wing. The door to room 36 was wide open. That room was always locked. I never had a key to it. Inside was nothing, just a bed frame, peeling paint, and the strong stench of rotting cloth. I turned to leave when I heard it, breathing, right behind me. I turned and no one was there. But when I looked at the mirror bolted above the sink, there was someone in the reflection, standing inches behind me, bald head, hospital gown, eyes completely black. I spun around, empty, looked back, gone. I left. I didn't even finish my shift. I drove straight home, shaking the whole way. I quit the next morning. But that's not the worst part. That night I reviewed the footage from the camera I brought with me. It cut out right when I entered room 36. When it flicked back on, it wasn't pointing at the room anymore. It was pointed at me from inside the room, and I wasn't holding it. I was staring into the lens, smiling.